my summer camp was when my mom would just drop me off at the dock every day, and I would just go out on like half day, 3/4 day boats. Like literally, that was my summer camp. No, they're still in the mode of like they want to catch every time, and being stuck on a boat, like it's not there. They love going.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming to Coffee and Cash. We're about to get started, so if you can please grab a seat. We're tight on time. We want to be respectful of everybody's time. Go ahead and grab a seat, and we'll get started. Excuse me.
What's up? How are you? Hey, nice to see you. Thanks for coming.
Morning, Cream.
I was coming today either way, but yeah, but he had his baby last night, so.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, I'm very happy for him.
No, I'm not complaining. I was going to ask if I could get some help turning down the music.
Good. The team is, the merger is like,
you get a moment.
it was like this honeymoon period where it was great, and then now it's like went to a headache, and then it got good, and then headache, so. But it'll be good in the long run, yeah. Yeah, just got to get through like this rough patch right now. But yeah, I'm leaving here and going straight to like, we have our quarterly all hands meeting as soon as I'm done here. Somewhere in Mission Bay. So I'm like, we have 150 agents now, so they'll all be there. Yeah, so I gotta go. Gotta give this talk, then that talk.
Welcome everybody. Please grab a seat. We're about to get started so you don't miss out. We do have a guest who's gonna give us some good information. If you guys want to take up the seats in the front first, that'd be awesome. I already started it. Huh? Yeah, just making sure it's good. Just get started?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, cool. All right, everybody, we're going to get started. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully you already got your coffee. If not, your coffee, I'm sure, is coming right up. My name is Raul. Obviously, I'm not Voltaire, but I am part of Voltaire Lepe's team. And I'm sure you probably noticed the big guy's not here. I do have an exciting announcement if you guys want to hear. I don't know about you guys, but I like Cheeseman. I got Cheeseman for y'all. Voltaire's not here. He has me and Kyle Whistle today. And the reason is he and his wife actually welcomed their baby boy Basquiat to the world yesterday. So yes, Voltaire's with his family right now, which is pretty exciting. But today we do have a few exciting topics that Voltaire wanted us to cover. Real quick, we're going to give out some shout outs to our sponsors. We have here Jesse Blanco. We have Pam Estrada, and we also have Trisha Atondo that sponsored for today's event. Now, Voltaire, last Coffee and Cash, he was talking about the personal budget, right? And a lot of the questions were, how does he keep increasing his net worth consistently? And one of the things that he mentioned last night is because he doesn't have his money parked in cash.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Thank you.
Look at that assist. All right, cool. So Voltaire was talking about his net worth increasing, and the biggest reason why is because he doesn't have his money in cash, just parked under the mattress, right? So he wanted to go over some of the returns, some of the places that Voltaire actually has his money. So gold year to date has actually gone down 4.2%. Silver has gone down 13.1%. Bitcoin taking the biggest hit, going down about 29% year to date, but Old Faithful S&P 500 has gone up 10.1%, with the San Diego housing market, of course, going up 5.6% here in San Diego. So we started January with the median sold price at 900,000, and in July it's at 950,000. So Voltaire's parking his money in assets. That's why his net worth continuously is going up. But there's also one topic that came up last time, which is cost segregation, bonus depreciation, and that is actually what allows Voltaire to pay $0 in federal taxes. Yes, a guy that's making that much money is paying $0 federal taxes. And there's one person that Voltaire actually heard explain the topic very fluently in a way that he felt it was very easy to understand, that helped Voltaire execute at a very high level, again, saving a lot of money in taxes. So today we have Kyle Whistle, and he's gonna break it down for us. So please give Kyle a nice welcome.
Cool. Do I need a mic, or is you guys hear good? We're solid? Okay, cool. Okay, I'll just yell louder if you guys get loud, it's fine. All right, so nice to meet you guys. I wanna understand the room really quick. How many of you guys are real estate agents? It's like half you guys. How many of you guys are just straight up investors? Okay. And then how many of you guys are affiliates? Like you have some sort of service in the real estate. You can't raise your hand for all three. Like, how do you literally raised it for all three. Okay, cool. So just for some background, I've been in the real estate industry. I bought my first property when I was 20 years old. I am 44 years old today. So for those of you guys that struggle with math, that's 24 years in the real estate industry. I run the largest real estate team, not only in San Diego, but in all of California officially as of like a couple weeks ago. So last year alone, we sold 1,042 homes in San Diego County, sold over 9,000 homes across my career. I currently own over 1,000 apartment units. I own over 300 mobile home units. I own just locally here in San Diego. I've got about 25 properties in San Diego. I got into the development game a few years ago as well. So we've been building small apartment buildings and ADU projects. So I have both the real estate background as well as the investor background. Voltaire had me come here today. Voltaire's like, if you guys know him, he's the only person who's ever point blank asked me, what's your net worth? One of the first questions, we sat down at like a coffee shop or something. He's like, what's your net worth? It's like, I like this guy. And I actually knew my number and he was like, oh, I like this guy. And then we became really good friends from that point. So you guys that follow Voltaire, that know him, one, reach out and congratulate them on their beautiful baby. They had him last night, which is super exciting. But also, he's somebody you guys should stay in touch with, somebody you should follow, somebody that I respect and I hope that you guys respect as well. And so, yeah, I'm excited to be here today. I just want to share some of my knowledge, some of my experience with you guys. I'm not a CPA, I'm not a financial advisor. I think you are, correct? Here. So talk to Jesse, right? This is all based on personal experience. So I'm not an attorney or any of that stuff. So whatever I tell you today, it's not the end all be all. Confirm it with whoever does your taxes, whoever advises you financially. Things are always changing with this stuff. So I'm just going to share based on my personal knowledge, my personal experience. Again, done this 9,000 times, so have a pretty good understanding of how this game works. But I got obsessed over how to mitigate my taxes the first time I had to write a six-figure check to the IRS. It was one of the most sickening, gross feelings I've ever had in my entire life. I literally, it was like $110,000, $110,345 because I remember it really well. I had to write a check for $110,000, send it to the IRS, and they didn't send me not even a cup of coffee back. Like, it was a horrible experience, and like from that point on, I just committed, like, I don't ever want to do this again. I don't ever want to send any unnecessary money to the government. So I've just obsessed from that point forward of how do I give the government less money? How do I retain as much of that as possible? And that's what we're going to hit on today, is like one of the tools that is the tool that I use, that Voltaire uses, and most extremely wealthy people utilize to mitigate the amount of taxes they pay. And the beauty here is we're going to talk about an asset that appreciates over time, right? We can all agree that real estate appreciates over time. Historically in San Diego, it's in the 5 to 6% range. That's exactly coincidentally where we've been in the last 12 months, is in that 5 to 6% range. So we're in that normalized market right now. So we own this asset that is appreciating, meaning the value is increasing. We were able to buy it with leverage, meaning we could have put $0 down. Maybe we put 3.5% down, 10%, 20% down, but we were able to buy it with leverage. So we didn't actually have to, let's assume it's $1 million asset. We didn't have to pay $1 million cash for the asset. Maybe we put $20,000 or $200,000 down, but we own a $100 million asset. That asset goes up 5% in a year. It's now worth $1,050,000, right? We gained $50,000 and we only paid $200,000 down. It's a 25% return on investment just in the first year, which is pretty freaking amazing. But then we get to compound that with this magical thing called depreciation. How many of you guys are super familiar with depreciation? They're like, I'm an expert. Perfect, okay, you're in the right room. So let me just help you guys understand how depreciation works. Traditionally, when you would buy real estate in the United States, they would classify it as either residential or commercial. This building obviously would be commercial. You buy the apartment building across the street, that would be considered residential. So they decided, I don't know why, I don't know how, but somebody decided if it was resi property versus commercial property. If it was residential, I don't know where this math comes from, but you would take the value of the property, divide it by 27.5 years, and you could depreciate that much every single year for 27 and a half years. Now, this is excluding the land. This is just the actual hard asset itself, not the land. So let's assume that we bought something for $400,000 and they decided the value of the land was $125,000. So that leaves us a total property value of $275,000. So the traditional way this would work is you would just divide 275 by 27 and a half, which is 10,000. And so we would get a $10,000 write-off every single year for 27 and a half years. Just to clarify, this is not a tax credit, this is a write-off. So if your net income at the end of the year was 100,000 and you owned this asset, you would not pay taxes on 100, you would pay taxes on 90. So you would just discount the amount of gross income that you're gonna pay taxes on. And then commercial, same thing, except we're just dividing by 39 and a half years. So then what they did that was really interesting is they came up with something called a cost segregation analysis. So with the cost segregation analysis, they decided let's not just look at the whole building and just lump everything into that one category. Let's break it down into multiple categories. So they would break that down into land. They would put 5-year, 7.5 year, 15 year, and then 27.5 year. So they would break it into these different buckets. So land is obvious. Things that have like a 5-year, they would look at like what's the economic useful life of this part of the asset. Things that would be 5-year would be like carpet, right? Like carpet, 5 years, that's about the useful life expectancy of something like carpet. On the flip side, something that's 27.5 years, probably this foundation that we're standing on, right? So they would just look at every component. They would look at the windows, the walls, the roof, the HVAC, the plumbing, the electrical. So everything on that building fits into one of these different buckets. So let's assume on that 400,000, we said this was 125. Historically in San Diego, the majority of the things that fit in this 15-year or less bucket is usually around like 20 to 25% of the value of the property. So if we said that this was 125 for the land, and we could say 25% of that falls here, that's about 100K here. So we're at 225, and the remaining 175 would be in this 27.5 year bucket. So what they would let you do is, you're not writing the land off, but these numbers that fell in the 5-year, 7.5 year, 15-year buckets, instead of having to write those off over 27.5 years, you could write it off over 5 years, or you could write it off over 7.5 or 15. So you could accelerate and pay, write off more up front and then less over time. Trump, love him or hate him, I don't care. He came out with this thing called the One Big Beautiful Bill, which introduced bonus depreciation into the equation. What that said is anything that fits into these 3 buckets, so you have this 100K in here, you get to write that off in year 1. This is investment property only, just to make sure we're clear. But you're getting to write off $100,000 in year 1. Well, let's talk about this. How much money do I have to put down on a $400,000 investment property? 25%, right? Let's assume 25%, okay? So I got to put $100,000 down to buy this property, but I just got a $100,000 write-off. How freaking cool is that? Literally every dollar that I put down, I got to write off in the year I bought it, regardless if I bought it January 1st, December 31st, doesn't make a difference. You guys have seen people do that with cars, right? Like people buy a car like December 31st so they can write it off. If you've ever wondered why do investors sometimes want to buy a property in December, it's because they met with their CPA who told them, you're staring down the barrel of a huge tax liability, you need to go buy some real estate. This is why, because if they buy that property, they put it into service in December, doesn't matter if it was January or December, same net effect. If they bought this property for 400K, they could write off $100,000 in that year. So they're gonna put $100,000 down, but then they're gonna get a $100,000 write-off at the same time, which is kind of freaking crazy. Now, $400,000 properties don't really exist in San Diego, but San Diego, your average property is 2 or 3 times that. So now we're talking $200,000, $300,000 write-offs in year 1. If you guys really want to game the system, I just passed the military base, right, on my way in here. Are you guys aware that you can assume a VA loan? Are you aware that I can assume a VA loan? And I've never served in the military. It's pretty cool, huh? Well, if you think about this, our market hasn't moved a whole lot in the last year or two, 5, 8, 10%, depending on the market. I could go find a property that has a VA loan on it. I could assume that property that has a VA loan on it, putting little to no money down, and I could still do this exact same freaking thing. So if I could find some military person who bought a property and they need to sell it, maybe they got restationed or whatever the case is, they're unloading it, and they put that thing on the market, I could go buy it, I could assume their loan, even as an investor, even as a non-military person, I could assume that mortgage with little to no money down. Does not matter how much money I put down, I get this same exact tax benefit no matter what. So now you're like really starting to hack the system because you're assuming a loan that's VA, which the odds are if they got the mortgage, especially if they got the mortgage like 4 or 5 years ago, they got a rate that's like 2, 3, 4%. So rather than going and getting a new loan at 6, 7%, I could assume their rate at a much lower number than what I would pay on a new loan. And I could do this cost segregation all at the same time. So there's just like crazy, crazy hacks that are available to you guys right now. So I really want to encourage you guys to look into this. So let me hit on this part of it. This 100,000, it's going to be handled 2 different ways. So if you qualify for real estate professional status, what does that mean? It means you spend more than half of your time on real estate, minimum of 750 hours, and there's like a 5-question checklist. Jesse will help you out with this. So there's a 5-question checklist that you have to go through to qualify for real estate professional status. If you qualify for real estate professional status, this amount that you depreciate counts against your ordinary income. Those of you guys that are real estate agents, this counts against your commission income. Those of you guys that are in W-2 jobs, this counts against your W-2 income. If you qualify as a real estate professional status. Now, most of us that are realtors, this is very easy to do. This is what we do for a living, much easier to pass all of these tests. But any of you guys have clients who are like doctors, lawyers, stuff like that, pretty hard for them to qualify for real estate professional status because they have a full-time job as a doctor. So it's really hard for them to qualify for that. So if they don't qualify for real estate professional status, instead of this counting against your ordinary active income, it's going to count only against your passive income. Passive income would be, Voltaire loves S&P 500. Like your gains that you've had if you invested in the S&P 5 years ago and you cashed out, like that's passive gain. If you have real estate income that's just coming in, you're not managing the asset, that income from real estate, those passive income. So if you do not qualify for real estate professional status, the depreciation is only going to count against passive income. All right. Now, there's a few ways to play this game. My wife does not work. She could work. If I didn't qualify, maybe I own the coffee shop, and now I can't qualify for real estate professional status, but my wife does not have a full-time W-2 job. It would be a lot easier for her to qualify for real estate professional status, because if I ever got audited, like, well, you run the coffee shop, you're there 6 days a week, like, there's no way you're putting more than 50% of your time into real estate because you're putting it all into the coffee shop. But my wife has no other job, so it would be much easier for her to legitimize that she's spending 750 hours a year on real estate and more than 50% of her time because she has nothing to split her time with. It would be a lot easier for my wife to qualify for real estate professional status than for me. So that's one of the loopholes that can be used. So if it's you or you have a client, again, you got the doctor client, but then their husband, their wife, whatever, does not work, maybe we can get that person to qualify for real estate professional status. Now, you don't want to like cheat the system, but you want to understand the system and then play the game, right? This whole money world is all a game. We're just going to play. You tell me what the rules are. I'm going to play by the rules, but just make sure we're clear on what those rules are. Question?
What is required for you to qualify as a?
So there's like 5 questions. The 3 biggest is have to spend 750 hours a year. On the individual asset, you have to spend more than 100 hours. You have to actively manage it. So if you're hiring like property managers and stuff like that, that doesn't count. You have to actively manage it. And you have to spend more time on it than anybody else. There's like 5 questions. You can look up just REPS. They call it reps status or real estate professional status.
How would I verify the hours?
Only if you get audited.
Okay.
So you just, all tax stuff, right? You do whatever the hell you want on your taxes. That's between you and the auditor if you get audited. You can do anything you want on your taxes. Just if you get audited, you better have the ability to prove it. But 750 hours, there's 52 weeks in a year. So mathematically, that's like 12, 13 hours a week that you technically would have to spend on real estate. So could you figure out a way to like, oh, I do 2 hours of this, 3 hours of that, 4 hours of that, like, you know, just understand the rules, play the game. Yeah.
Just to clarify, can this be a long-term rental investment or does it have to be short-term? Because I know there's
We'll get there.
Okay, so
I'm getting there. Yeah, you're getting ahead of me, but I appreciate it. Yeah. So this is on long-term rentals. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're assuming a loan, a VA loan, and you're not putting any money down, how could you write off?
Doesn't make a difference if I buy a property cash, if I put 25% down, or I assume it, makes zero difference how I acquire it.
Okay.
Doesn't make a difference.
Okay.
All that matters is I acquired it and I put it into service. Does not matter how I acquired it.
And we'll have
Even if I,
we'll have a
rob
Q&A
you,
at the end too, so that we're
yeah,
talking.
even if I rob you and take the property from you, doesn't matter. However I got it, as long as I got it, it's in my name and I put it in service this year, doesn't matter how I got it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Then she's leading to my next thing. So let's assume you're in a scenario where you can't do that either. Maybe you're single and you're a doctor. And so you don't have a spouse that can get the real estate professional status and you can't get it because you're a doctor full time. The one loophole to this thing, it's called a short-term rental loophole. If and only if the investment property has an average stay of 7 days or less, then you do not need real estate professional status. So if and only if the average stay is 7 days or less, the real estate professional status thing goes out the window. Again, the reason you want the real estate professional status or to use this short-term rental loophole is so this depreciation number goes against your active income, not just your passive income. Most of us don't have $100,000 of passive income that we can wipe out. Now, you could, let's say you had 20,000 in passive, you could roll that over and take 20K this year, 20K next year. Like you could use that over time, but I want the full shot. I want the whole thing in one dose. So if I want to take this entire amount in one shot, I have to qualify for real estate professional status, my spouse has to qualify for it, or it has to be a short-term rental. Again, minimum 7-day stay or less. Now again, there's additional layers to how you hack this thing. It does not say that you have to own it for any certain period of time. So it doesn't say like you have to buy it in July and it has to be a minimum 7-day or less. It just says it has to be 7-day or less. So theoretically, I could close escrow on a property on like December 29th. I could put one tenant in there for 2 days and that tenant could leave. And what was my average stay during the month of 2026? 2 days, therefore it qualifies short-term rental. It's like super hack getting to that level. But then I could turn it into a long-term rental. So even though I could be a short-term rental this year, I could then flip it over to a long-term rental thereafter. So you could close on something like in December, just short-term rent it only for December. That way you can take advantage of this in the tax in that year. And then January rolls around, you put somebody in there full-time, and you're great. You're completely, again, you just tell me the rules of the game, I'm gonna play by them. The rules say that I can do that. So as long as the average stay is 7 days or less, then it will count against your active income, regardless of real estate professional status.
Can you make it a primary home?
Can you later make it a primary home? As far as I know, I don't see any reason why you could not. I don't think they're gonna come back on it at that time. You're just gonna recapture. So the last part of this is depreciation. So whether you go the old school route where you're just depreciating over 27 and a half years, or you start to like really game the system, you need to know that when you sell this property, you are going to recapture all of that gain, meaning you're gonna go pay taxes on it. So then the last part of the strategy is what's called swap till you drop, which means you're gonna just constantly 1031 exchange properties. If you guys aren't familiar with that, it just means I have all of this gain on this property, I don't wanna pay taxes on it. As long as I just take all the proceeds from that sale, put it into a 1031 account, I buy another property of equal or greater value, I defer. Make sure we clarify, we don't like wipe out the taxes, we defer the taxes and just roll it over to the next property. Then I can do it again. Roll it to the next property, roll it to the next property, roll it to the next property. So you can continue to roll this over until the day that you die. And then the day that you die, all of those gains are gonna get wiped out. Your kids are gonna take over those properties and the basis will be whatever the value was at date of death. So if you play this game right, you just keep 1031 exchanging, depreciate, 1031 exchange, depreciate, 1031 exchange, die, your kids take it over, you set your kids up and they're dialed and they don't have to pay any of those taxes and you stick it to the government. Yes?
So if it's more than 7-day average, it's applicable.
Then you need real estate professional status. Yes. Other questions? I think that was everything I wanted to hit. Cool. And I got like 7 minutes for questions.
If I got this right, so when you could do this,
Mm-hmm.
and then you say 6 months from now you want to make it your primary home, you have to pay the depreciation when you switch it to a primary home? Or only-
You would not turn it into a primary in the year that you claim this. You could switch it to a primary later. So let's say you did the short-term rental loophole. You bought it in December, used it as a short-term rental, wrote it off in December, and then you moved into it at a later date. I think you'd be okay there. Confirm that with the CPA though.
Okay.
Yes.
What if a person has owned a property for like, say, like 8 years, and then they just found out about,
You could go back and do a retroactive one.
how does that work?
You just call, so if you guys just DM me if you want my contact for cost segregations, just send me a DM. I keep it simple at Kyle Whistle. I'll send you my people. So I have cost segs done on all of my assets, and we're just ready to deploy them when we need them. So even properties I bought 3 or 4 years ago, we sit down so the thing I've always learned, like if we just have the World Cup on, right? You guys, especially here, we love World Cup. Argentina yesterday, right? Like that game, they were down 0-2 with 11 minutes left in the game. But we knew that because there was a scoreboard. If you know you were down 0-2 and there's 11 minutes left in the game, do you change the way you play the game? Fuck yes you do, right? You got 11 minutes or you're going home. So Argentina went heavy press, they brought in subs, they went all offense, no defense, and it paid off for them, right? But the only reason they knew to do that is they had a scoreboard. And that scoreboard said, we're down 2-0, we got 11 minutes left, we don't step it up, we're going home. You gotta have that in your financial world, which Voltaire talked about the last one. Like, if you don't have an actual P&L and understand what's happening in your business, you don't know if you have gains or losses. So you need to have a P&L, like that's your scoreboard in life. And so when I meet with my CPAs, we meet at the halfway mark of the year, we meet at 3/4 mark of the year, and then we meet in December. And so we're deciding like, hey, here's where it looks like income's gonna be this year. We're starting to figure out the strategies we're gonna deploy for that year based on what the income looks like, based on that scorecard or the scoreboard, which is the P&L. So I have cost segs ready on everything. And now we're just like, oh, income's high, okay, let's use that one. All right, it's all just pulling levers. So I have cost segs ready to go on all of my properties, including ones I bought years ago, because I haven't done it yet. And we'll just pull those levers when we need them. So you need to make sure you have a scorecard for your business. So you know if you're down 0-2 with 11 minutes left, you know you got to change things, right? You can't just keep doing what you've been doing or you're going to lose. Yes?
So you're saying you can choose when to cash in on the depreciation?
Yes.
And you're saying that's against,
It could be passive income, could be ordinary income, depending on real estate professional status.
So like, let's say you've gone a couple of years, you haven't taken your percent of depreciation for that year. You're saying you just kind of like bucket it for the future, and that's not correcting taxes from the year you didn't take it. You're taking
Right, you're not auditing or amending your old return, you're just claiming it now. Yeah.
You mentioned that cost segregation on things that you haven't even taken into effect as of 2 years ago. Let's say some things happen, you have to add value to that property in those 2 years. And let's say you got the appraisal for 500,000. Now, due to appreciation every year, along with any value that you add to it, can you do like another?
A secondary?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know that, like I bought an office building, actually it looks just like this. I have the same roof in my office building, and it was a piece of shit. Like when I bought it, it was gutted, it had no walls, nothing. I bought it, and then I put like $1.5 million into it. Then I did it afterwards, because now that money that I invested into it, that's part of the process. Can you do one and then improve the property, do a second one later? I don't know that answer, so I don't want to tell you one way or the other. But when
classified as capital improvements or repairs or maintenance.
Okay.
Usually with the cost seg, once you do it once, it's done, it's locked in.
Yeah. So I personally waited till the improvements were done and then did the cost seg. Yes.
I thought it had to be the year it's put into service. Am I thinking of the short-term rental loophole one?
The short-term rental loophole is just the qualified. All that matters is what was it in the year that you put it into service. But again, it could be, if it was short-term rental this year and then next year you go long-term rental, it's not going to negate the fact that you already took the depreciation. Not going to come back after it. But yeah, I have all my cost segs ready to go on properties I bought 2, 3, 4 years ago, and we'll pull the lever when we need them. Yeah.
So what happens to the depreciation that you already took those first few years? You have to give it back?
Only when you sell the property. So the objective is you depreciate down to 0. So right, if I held this for 27.5 years, I'm going to depreciate all of this in year 1, this 175 that's left over, that's gonna get split over 27 and a half years. I don't know what the math is on that. It's probably $6,000 a year. So I would depreciate $6,000 a year for the next 26 and a half years. And I'll continue to depreciate that until it goes down to zero.
So from that number, you would deduct the depreciation that you took, like year 1, 2, and 3 from the.
You're just, yeah, you started out with, in this case, $275,000 worth of real property. So you're just gonna wipe that 275 out over time. 100K in year 1, and then the remainder chunked down over the next 26 and a half years. Say that again, I'm sorry? You're not accelerating the remainder. Right now, you only accelerate what fits in the 15-year or less buckets. So the land and the 27 and a half year buckets stay out. The one big beautiful bill is anything that's 15 years or less. I got time for one last question, then I gotta run. Here you go, let's go.
So, quick, two-part question. This is just for real estate professional, right?
No, you're still gonna get the 100,000 no matter what. It's just, will it wipe out ordinary income? For real estate agents, that's your commission. For everybody else, that's your W-2 income. The only way it'll count against your ordinary income is if you are real estate professional status or it's a short-term rental.
Okay.
If not, it's still gonna wipe out income, only passive income. So passive income, like gains from stocks, your real estate income, stuff like your rental income, that's all passive income. So it's still gonna wipe stuff out, but most of us don't have $100,000 of passive losses in a single year. Again, this is on a $400,000 property, which doesn't really exist here. So you're probably gonna have $200,000. Like, I don't have $200,000 of passive gains. Like, so I'd suspend that, meaning I'd use some this year, some next year. Over time, I'd end up using it all.
Okay, so second part of that question.
Yeah.
Is there a way to qualify like dual professional? Like, I'm not a real estate professional, but I want to be able to qualify for some of this. Is there a way to like have that on tax record and still keep my day job?
So you'll go through that 5-question test, but you have to spend more than 50% of your time in real estate. So depending on how much time you spend in your job, if you have a 40-hour-a-week job, it's almost impossible to legitimately say that you spend more than 50% of that. That would mean you're working 81 hours a week. But that's where you can bring a spouse in. So if you have a spouse, they can get the real estate professional status. And even though you don't have it, you might be the one buying the asset, but your spouse qualifies. You file a joint return, you both qualify.
Okay.
Cool? Okay. Love you guys, appreciate you. I have to run to I have like 150 agents on my team waiting, so I got to run to a meeting. Thank you guys. Yeah.
Thank you, Kyle.
Just reach out on Instagram if you guys have any additional questions. It's just @KyleWhistle. I'm always happy to answer any questions that you guys have. And reach out. Jesse's a CPA, like he probably answer a lot of questions, or whoever your CPA is, your financial advisor, like reach out to them, confirm everything that I told you today. Again, I'm not the person you come to if it doesn't work, so go to them.
There you go. Thank you, Kyle.
All right, well, thank you guys.
So like Kyle mentioned, Jesse is very well versed in the cost segregation, bonus depreciation. So we can put you on the hot seat, right? A little Q&A. So if you guys got more questions, we can keep going. I don't know if anybody has questions for Jesse. Perfect. So with that being said, oh, we do. You had a question?
Oh, yeah, if you wanna, let's just say you have losses of 75,000, using this example, you do the cost segregation, and you write up the whole 100K, and you get 25 back from taxes return, or so it's a credit, it's not like a, I'm gonna get it. Okay, so you go up to the $35,000 that you have, and the other 25 will roll over to this. Okay.
Nice, good question. So you guys can catch Jesse afterwards if you still have more questions, but Voltaire did want to invite everybody to our next workshop. It's a VA home buying workshop. So if you are a VA buyer or have VA friends that want to learn every benefit that comes with it, June 18th, Saturday, 11 a.m. at our office. There's a QR code so you guys can scan it, get all the details to it. You're all invited, obviously free of cost. And again, one more shout out to our sponsors. We have Trisha Atondo. She's one of our lenders. So if you have any lending questions, you can also catch her. We also have Pam. She's with our home warranty group. So if you have home warranty questions, how does that work? Why do you even need it? You can hit up Pam as well. And of course, we have Jesse here to help with any CPA or cost segregation questions. But before you guys do take off, please scan the QR code, leave us a review, and we hope to see you guys at the next Coffee and Cash.
Thank you.